Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. It's great to have you with us. My name is Steve Tranchita, and hopefully you're all here for the webinar that you see on your screen, which is about elevating customer experience with conversational AI. Great topic. We've got some great presenters for you today. Let me start by introducing the folks on our side today. So again, Steve Tranchita, I'm the Vice President of our Digital Solutions Group at XNET. And I'm joined by two gentlemen today who are going to do the meat of the webinar, and that's Brian Atkiss, who directs one of the groups in our organization called our Applied Intelligence Group, which is all about data, analytics, and automation, and other applications of things like AI. So, Brian's going to take us through the conversational AI topics in some great detail today. And we're also really grateful to have Jonathan Crane with us, one of our valued partners at XNET. Jonathan is with a company called Amelia, and we're going to be presenting Amelia as one of the great conversational AI solutions out there today as we talk about the value chain of this solution. And that takes us to the agenda. So we're doing introductions right now. Brian's going to take you through the overview of conversational AI, what it is, how it's different, why it's so important to part of a great customer experience and part of automation solutions within your organization. We'll talk about use cases for conversational AI, where we're seeing it adopted in the marketplace today. And then we're going to talk about Amelia, which is a fantastic conversational AI. We're going to demonstrate the capabilities there and some of the differentiators over traditional chatbots and things like that, and how Amelia satisfies those features. So that's going to be a really exciting piece of this. And then hopefully, you've liked what you heard. You've listened to some use cases that kind of got the wheels turning in your head about how you might adopt this to benefit your organization. And so the natural question would be, great, how do I get started? And so number 5 there in the agenda, we'll talk about some ways to get started with XNET and our strategic consulting group. Finally, we'll close with taking some questions that anyone might have. And really excited, we're going to do a raffle for a prize for some lucky attendee here. Only caveat there is you have to be present at the time of the raffle to win. So hopefully, you really enjoy the content, stay to the end, and win the prize. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just set the stage for 2 minutes. I'm going to talk a little bit about our organization, which is XNET here. So we're an end-to-end business experience consultancy, and we really focus on 4 key areas that you see on this slide here. The first is helping companies set their overall strategy around business and digital transformation, right? And that's our business technology alignment group. So we can come in and help you build a roadmap, take a vision that you might have and make it real, make it actionable very quickly through our suite of consultative advisory offerings that we have in our business technology alignment group. The second thing that we do, and we're really passionate about it, is about helping companies design, build, and run what we call connected experiences, right? Which is all of these incredible customer engagements, digital solutions like mobile and web and kiosks and voice and all the different ways to interact with your customers, whether it's B2C or B2B, how you empower your employees to provide great experiences through enabling themselves with great tools and experiences, and how you make your brand shine through when you're engaging with your clients. So that's connected experiences. The third group there, which I mentioned when I introduced Brian, is the applied intelligence practice area that we have. And that is, again, everything about ingesting and collecting data, performing advanced analytics, including AI, machine learning on that data, and then applying that data in useful ways, such as today's conversation, which is conversational AI. Finally, we power these experiences through our cloud and infrastructure modernization team. So this is all about potentially leveraging one of the big cloud providers, helping you put your workloads there and optimize them. If you're doing on-prem, helping design that, helping secure it, helping it be elastic enough to scale to run these great solutions that power connected experiences out there today. So that's who we are as an XNET as a consultancy. Next slide, Brian. And kind of going along with the end-to-end theme that I introduced in the last slide, everything we do, we think about from an end-to-end perspective, and all the ingredients to make that work from an end-to-end thought process. And so that includes conversational AI. When we think about conversational AI, today's topic, and we say, what is it about? We look at it holistically, right? It's about intelligent automation in many ways. It's about things that you can do in the customer experience realm, in the employee empowerment and IT service management realm. It's could be a key piece of automation, business process automation, robotic process automation. And on the right-hand side, it can also be a key piece to automation internally around your cloud and infrastructure and your development operations, right? So there's opportunities across kind of all of these kind of darker blue boxes that you see here to apply intelligent automation in your organizations. And conversational AI, today's topic, can really be the gateway or the front door to all of those areas, right? You can leverage conversational AI as your entry point in many cases through virtual assistants for a lot of these automation topics. And at XNET, as I was saying before, and as visualized along the bottom here, we provide end-to-end services around automation, from strategy to implementation through managed services, optimization, and continuous optimization of these solutions. So conversational AI, today's topic, is really a piece of this kind of broader puzzle as far as we look at it at XNET. Okay, Brian, next. All right, so with that said, once again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We're really excited about today's topic. We think it's so timely and relevant. I'm going to turn it over to Brian to take you through the introduction to conversational AI. Take it away, Brian.
Great, thank you, Steve, and thanks everyone for joining. So what I'm going to focus on is really an introduction to conversational AI and how it's different than what you might think about for a traditional chatbot and some of the key differentiators here. So conversational AI is not a scripted conversation. When you think about a chatbot, that's really you're building a scripted conversation to interact with some sort of user, right? But with conversational AI, it has a number of features that really differentiate it. It's a whole nother playing field that you're working with here. So it has things like complex intent recognition, so being able to understand multiple different intents from a single sentence. Context switching, so if a user decides to change what their request is mid conversation, the AI solution is able to quickly adapt and adapt in real time like a human would without having to reset the script. Additionally, it's a self-learning tool, so it'll learn over time as it goes through more and more conversations, and is a true AI solution that leverages that learning to become smarter and better. And then the last piece here is just extensive integration. So being able to integrate with a lot of different enterprise systems and data enables you to leverage the AI solutions to the best of their abilities. The next point I want to make is just how conversational AI provides business value, and there's a number of areas. The first and probably most obvious to everyone is the ability to improve operational efficiency. So using these types of conversational AI solutions to automate repetitive tasks that humans are performing, to free up those humans for higher and better value tasks that they can do. So it allows you to make better use of the human resources that you do have, and provide a great experience to consumers while doing so, which then leads to the next point around increasing customer satisfaction. So by being always available and able to scale to meet demand, conversational AI solutions actually can increase customer satisfaction. They're 24/7 availability all year round. They don't take holidays off, so you can always have this solution up and ready to respond to the inquiries. And then it also can allow for actionable change and improving satisfaction by providing more tailored customer experiences and being able to sync with various data systems in order to do that. And the last piece here is around business transformation. I mean, everyone talks about business transformation as sort of the holy grail of what organizations are trying to do, and conversational AI is just one additional way to start to incorporate that transformation and innovation within an organization. And then what you're seeing here on this slide and what we'll talk through is some real specific use cases in a couple of verticals, and then also some cross-industry use cases. So, we'll start with healthcare and some timely and relevant use cases around COVID-19 screening or vaccine scheduling. So being able to automate processes around that, or for a healthcare provider, automate appointment scheduling for them to just provide a better experience and for their patients, or around automating copay information for payers. If you get patients with questions around their copay or other aspects of their healthcare insurance, then you can automate some of the responses around there, and then also around patient onboarding for both providers and payers as well. In the insurance space, there's automation of things related to claims or first notice of loss, being able to automate the intake of those initial claim inquiries, changing a policy or renewing a policy, inquiries around billing and payment, or creating a new policy. Those are all areas that are ripe for automation. And then financial services, simple tasks like someone having a balance inquiry, or even part of the mortgage processing process, the pre-approval process, automating some of that, and even providing automated status updates to consumers as they're going through that process, which can be a timely and oftentimes confusing process for them. And then also other types of areas around rewards or disputing certain charges. Those are just a handful of examples of where this type of automation can be applied in these specific industries, and really within any industry, there's use cases like this that conversational AI can be applied. And then likewise, there's use cases across really every industry. Every industry has an IT service desk, or every company has HR, an HR department that is responsible for managing their human resources. And so within both of these use cases, there's automation of tasks to perform IT services, or to automate the requesting of PTO, or approval of PTO, or approval of benefits, using conversational AI to just provide a better experience for your employees, but then also being able to reduce expenses for these departments by allowing the humans to handle the more complex tasks that they need to. So this is just meant to give you an idea of what are some of the possibilities, and I want to repeat that the possibilities are nearly endless of what conversational AI can automate. And the next slide that I want to talk about is really how to achieve true business transformation with something like conversational AI. And the truth is, there's the human scale is inefficient for the needs of consumers in today's market. Their expectations have never been higher. They're expecting 24/7 responsiveness. They want personalization, and there's just been a massive growth in digital services. So in order to keep up with that, you need solutions like conversational AI tools like Amelia, which you're going to hear about in a second, that allow organizations to reach that unlimited scale and 24/7 availability. But in addition to that, you also need expertise in how to first get value out of these solutions quickly. You need to make sure that you go through the right strategic planning process, define the right business cases, identify the ROI for these before you do any implementation, so you can ensure you get the right buy-in and you achieve success quickly. And you need some expertise for these types of solutions. And traditionally, data science, AI skills are difficult and expensive to find. And so leveraging consultant expertise combined with advanced, conversational AI platforms like Amelia is how you can start to leverage this ROI and truly transform your business quickly. And the last piece here is you can't do any of this without, truly understanding the change that is going to be required for your processes. And often, any sort of automation is met with some sort of resistance inside an organization. So evaluating the change management, aspects of this is critically important when you're doing a strategic planning. And so that is another, feature that in order to really transform your business, you do have to include that evaluation as part of this. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Jonathan, who's going to introduce Amelia and walk through that. Jonathan, are you there?
We think about the empowering of the future of business as Steve put forward and addressing the need from end to end. And I think what you just said is so important, is the need to truly understand the aspects of change in procedures and personnel and the staffing that's required. Taking on this new capabilities, this conversational intelligence, will take an organizational effort, and frankly, it needs leaders like yourselves to make this happen. As a technology provider to you as our partner, really what we've been able to accomplish is the teaming of human and digital colleagues to really unleash creativity and deliver business value. And what we've done is we've built cognitive AI solutions specifically for the enterprise. Now, we didn't do this just overnight. We've been doing this for 22 years. And we started in a very simple place, simple from the standpoint of IT. IT has a repetitive nature about it. And so building capabilities where we basically instituted what we called virtual engineers who could address problems associated with infrastructure and be able to resolve the problems, whether they were in servers, software, storage, or wherever. We trained virtual engineers, some 30,000 of these virtual engineer applications, to address, resolve, and restore IT problems as we knew them. Over time, we figured that if we could do that for the IT environment, why not for some of the repetitive nature in what we'll call the business processes? And so we began to build human agents focused on business issues. And as we did that, we began to understand more and more about the business processes. So not just IT, but now as both you and Stephen have talked about, is there's more to address. And so whether we now take a virtual agent into becoming an HR personnel or working in marketing or handling some of the financial services tasks, or in any of the specific industries, like you mentioned, healthcare and becoming a scheduler, being able to take appointments. All of these kinds of things become, how could you use this conversational intelligence in a way that you could augment your people and address business processes that are a challenge? And lastly, one of the things that we decided was, if we could do this on the premises, why couldn't we cloud-base this technology as well? And so we invented what we call the digital workforce.ai. And in this respect, what you've got is the ability to take a digital worker and literally create it with Amelia's help to put into a specific role or specific work function that you have in your businesses. So we've tried to adopt ourselves into the no-code, low-code world, taking it out of the complex, difficult to design, now getting it to the point where literally anyone in a company can take a look at what the opportunities are to look at workers, to be able to download and put them into work. Thanks, Brian. Now, one of the things that I never like to do is to brag about the company from a standpoint of stature. One of the reasons why we like working with an XNET is because we see them as leaders in this business transformation industry. Well, couple that with the technology leadership we have provided. So if we talk about often called intelligent virtual agents, this conversational AI ability, all of the analysts in the market have all come to one common conclusion. There is one specific leader for conversational AI, and that's Amelia. She has grown up from the heritage of being a virtual engineer to learning skill sets within various BPO, call centers, and work functions, now to being the premier conversational intelligent agent in the marketplace. And if you look at everybody from Everest Group, who really focuses on call center environments, Forrester, Ovum, Gartner, HFS, all have come to the same conclusion. I believe that's the first time that's ever happened where all of the industry analysts have come to the same conclusion. Usually they like to differentiate for their own purposes. Now what they're all agreeing to is this is the bots of bots. This is really the first, we'll call intelligent bot that goes well beyond the chat bots and the early days of IVR. So Brian did a good job of kind of explaining conversational intelligence. Let me embody that in Amelia herself, and I'll take you through a quick explanation of how does conversational AI really differentiate itself from what we would call scripted chatbots or early days of interactive voice response systems, which, as you all remember, in any of your headaches trying to book a ticket on an airline, you know that that's trying to put you through a rabbit hole that is designed for the company's purpose, not yours. What we're seeing with superior customer service is the game has changed. It's now enabling you to design and ask for and get your problem resolved, your ticket booked, your issues taken on and resolved, rather than being fit into a narrow rabbit hole or cubby hole in terms of how the company wanted you to react. Or in the chatbots and IVRs, how I can deflect the inbound volume, try to get you to an answer, push you into a button pushing person and maybe get you an answer. This is not like that at all. First of all, Amelia understands natural language. You're talking to basically a human-like individual who will speak to you in your language, will speak to you as you speak, and will understand your intent. This goes then to connecting to lots of your operating systems, because in order to be responsive to you, she's going to have to understand what is the information I need to impart to this customer or prospect. Well, I'm going to have to be interconnected to my knowledge management systems. Amelia has that ability on a computer speed basis. She can also present visual representation. So we have the positive of voice and we have the positive of visual. So as we get into customer service environments, many times when you're presenting a particular solution, the customer would like to be able to visualize that. This is a chance to then share voice and visual. A very important thing mentioned before is Amelia would not be Amelia if she didn't understand sentiment, your emotional state. This enables you to really focus on solving problems and getting a customer satisfied or a prospect the information they need. And then understanding when you've reached that excitement and that positive level, could I in fact upsell? Could I upgrade? Could I speak to you about something additional I can do? That's why Amelia is so unique in a call center type environment, because she's revenue focused. She can take marketing input and read language and sentiment from a customer and decide when to go for that increase or upsell. She handles human variance very well. We're a chaotic race. That's what our nature is. When I'm calling for a particular issue, I may have something else that comes to mind. I may jump around. I may switch context. This is being able to stay connected to what the customer is trying to accomplish, understand it, and move back and forth following the chaotic nature of the human. Most importantly, I think, is learning. When we think about chatbots, they don't learn. Their learning is scripted as you learn more about what you might want to build as a decision tree to solve an FAQ type environment. Here, Amelia is actually learning from the interaction with the end user, and in addition, is constantly being able to be upgraded by the digital supervisor or by the trainer in the call center or by the mortgage broker that wants to add additional information. As we said earlier, she's now being able to adapt more rapidly by using low-code process designer. We call it DEB for short. And as such, we now enable lots more of users who can lend now the intelligence and the ability and the intent to Amelia as she tries to solve business problems and interacts with the customers. We've also pre-built vertical skills. So she could be a mortgage processor. She could do mortgage qualifications. She could be a claims processor. We had her selling car insurance. She did an excellent job, by the way. When we look at, she has all of these kinds of skills and comes with some of these pre-built, so you have a baseline generic way to start, rather than to think you have to build it all from the start. And we think most importantly, this is not about FTE replacements. This is not taking people out of their jobs. This is collaborating. This is machine and human working together to aid in the productivity of your call centers or wherever it is your customers, your prospects touch your customer. I think Brian said it well. He said the possibilities are nearly endless. I call that AOP. It's the art of the possible. How could you, with the help of a leader like an XNET, how could you put Amelia or technology similar to her, how could you put them to work in your environment? Well, if you think about it, one of the things you have to be cautious about, like in the chatbot world or in some of the IVRs, they were so narrowly scoped and they didn't reflect the new ways in which people are accessing your company or your call centers. We show here all of the various ways, and we probably haven't listed enough, that people interact with a call center or a contact center or service desk or whatever. And as such, they don't want to jump off a particular, maybe they're on Teams or they're on Slack or they're dealing with a platform, they're on their Salesforce doing CRM or whatever those are. You need to be able to take the inbound relationship and interaction where they are. Don't force them off of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Be able to be interactive and be able to take those kinds of interfaces. That then allows for the process to be sped along. It allows for a true dialogue regardless of the channel and method that you access the environment. And you understand the words and content that are being presented back and forth. This is true understanding. This is true intelligence. Understanding where your customer or prospect is, how they're coming to you, what they're looking for, and taking on the task to get it resolved. She also works in an expanded way. As I said before, it's very important if you're going to use Amelia in a contact center environment, a service desk, or any place where you've entered the company and you want to interface to a Amelia kind of capability, she's got to have access to all of the APIs, the gateways into business applications, to IT service management, to the RPA platforms, into databases, security solution environments, content center platforms like a Genesis, NICE, or Avaya, and all the channels as we just showed. So she's not single dimensional like people, again, come to a chatbot or an interactive voice response, way too narrow. Way too narrow if you're going to provide superior customer service. You've got to not only be able to interact with the end user in the channels in which they access you, but you need to have full availability and integration into all of these various environments in order to be functional. This is what we ask of our humans in any of our call centers or as they interface with our clients. That's what we expect, and that's what we built. Now, nothing shows you more, I think, than success than if we could just show you a couple of customer journeys, because it's really where these companies have put Amelia into being. The first one we would show you is one of our largest users in terms of volume. 7 million calls a month. Calls come into the Telefonica Service Center in Peru. And as a part of that, we operate 24/7, and it totally replaced their IVR systems, their button pushing systems, and amazingly, and I can never understand how a customer service organization could work this way. They used to have their people waiting as long as 48 minutes before they're able to access a human who didn't necessarily have the abilities or skill sets to solve the problem. And when we look at it, we now have her able to recognize the caller intent, inbound caller intent, 90% of the time. The abandon rate now has dropped over 50%. You can understand from a telco standpoint, especially a mobile provider, that churn is the death of a mobile provider. They never want a customer to move to another mobile provider. They want to hold on. And this has enabled them to have substantial improvement in their net promoter scores. Churn reduction has gone in the right direction. This is very profitable for them. So from their standpoint, this is a great example of, could you put a conversational intelligent agent on the front end, the entry point of your company? And the answer is resoundingly yes. I can show you another one, which is in the financial environment. It's a company called Sterling National Bank, one of our fine banks here in New York and beyond. And here they wanted to develop Amelia and rename her as Sky. And they wanted to be able to handle 100% of the calls as the beginning. And so they're now already up and moving very fast in a few short months to 50%. And what they're doing is they're really providing customers information on accounts, account balances, recent transactions. So they're giving the customer a full visibility into their account and the transactions and the business interactions with their business. Sky, as they've named her, will provide automated self-service for more than 3 million customer calls each year. And so from that standpoint, again, we have an individual institution that has decided we're ready for prime time with conversational intelligence. We're not going to put our customers through the button pushing, IVR narrowness of the chatbot world. We're going to elevate the relationship here such that it's human-like, it understands the problems, it will accept the task, and it will give you full visibility to whatever it is or however it is you're interacting with that company. What I thought I would just leave you with is a depiction of Amelia at work. You know, we're all dealing with an issue right now, and unless you're an ancient one like me, or you're a healthcare or essential worker, and thank you for that, we've put Amelia to work to try and simplify the sign-up process. And so here is a depiction of her hard at work, trying to help you get your vaccine.
As more and more COVID vaccines are being rolled out and scheduled, insufficient chatbots and automated call routing systems just make complicated matters more complicated. Patients and providers need more than basic FAQs. You need a solution that's smart enough to keep up with your customers, can scale on demand, and is able to resolve real issues. That's why Amelia has the conversational intelligence to understand even the most complex patient questions and the power to take direct action on them.
Thank you for calling the COVID Vaccination Center. My name is Amelia. How can I help you?
I'd like to know if I'm eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine and how to get it.
To a human, this is a straightforward statement, but to a computer, it's surprisingly complex. Rigid chatbots will fail at this step, since they'd have to understand that there are two actions or intents in this one statement. First, determine whether or not a person is eligible for the COVID vaccine. Then, provide the person with options to receive the vaccine. This kind of complex statement is miles beyond the capability of chatbots, but Amelia understands both the context and the individual pieces of information necessary to fulfill each request.
Great. Let's begin the pre-screening process. Can you tell me your name, date of birth, your state of residence, and zip code?
My name is John Smith. Date of birth is September 1st, 1977, and I live in New York State. My zip code is 10005.
Do you work in the state of New York?
Yes,
Okay. What is your occupation, John?
I'm a social worker.
Great. Based on the information you provided, you are included in Phase 1A. You are eligible to receive your COVID vaccination right away. Would you like to begin scheduling your vaccination appointment?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Let me look up the nearest vaccination facility to you. We have 3 locations in your area which are available. Walgreens, Duane Reade at 40 Wall Street, Manhattan, New York, 10005. Walgreens, Duane Reade at 200 Water Street, New York, 10038, and Rite Aid Pharmacy at 225 Liberty Street, New York, 10280. Which is your preference?
The one on Water Street.
Got it. Let me look for the first available at Walgreens, Duane Reade at 200 Water Street, New York, 10038.
Actually, I'd like the one on Wall Street.
Humans don't follow scripts. We change our minds, give incomplete information, and don't always do things in the same order. That's why most chatbots fail. Amelia understands that in this one statement, the user wants to change the original location from Water Street to Wall Street.
Got it. Let me look for the first available at Walgreens, Duane Reade at 40 Wall Street, Manhattan, New York, 10005. We have an appointment available for this Wednesday, February 24th, 2021 at 11:15 a.m. Would you like me to schedule the appointment?
What type of vaccine is it?
You'll notice the user has changed their mind in the middle of their request. This is called context switching, and it is notoriously difficult to plan. Amelia has the ability to understand user requests even when they don't occur when they normally would in a conversation flow.
This location offers the Moderna vaccine. We have an appointment available for this Wednesday, February 24th, 2021 at 11:15 a.m. Would you like me to schedule the appointment?
After Amelia answers the unexpected question, she remembers where the user left off and prompts them to continue.
Yes, please.
You're all set. You've been confirmed for this Wednesday, February 24th, 2021 at 11:15 a.m. at the Walgreens, Duane Reade at 40 Wall Street, Manhattan, New York, 10005. Please arrive 30 minutes early and please remember to wear a mask when you arrive.
Amelia is available 24/7 across every channel your customers may want to reach her. She can be rapidly deployed in hours to days, not weeks or months, and can scale to serve customers during unexpected spikes in call volumes. She can integrate with your company's existing backend systems, allowing her to deliver a seismic shift in your organization's productivity and customer satisfaction. Want to see her for yourself? Visit amelia.ai today. As
Well, that's a wrap. I'll turn it back over to Brian and Steve.
Yeah, and thank you, Jonathan. And I think as everyone can see, it's a very, very timely example of how conversational AI can be used, and the potential of implementing a tool like that for automation. And we're just going to wrap up here quickly talking about a strategic approach that we apply to a number of solutions, conversational AI being one of them, and how an organization can go and implement something like conversational AI. And so the 3-step process from a strategy perspective that we would look to do is around discovery and requirements, ideation, prioritization and design, and then roadmap and recommendation. And we look to build out and work with our clients to identify the business drivers for implementing something like conversational AI. It could be improving operational efficiency or improving increasing customer satisfaction. And then we'd also identify who are the various users and what systems are involved with implementing something like this. What channels do you interact with your users on? What are the various processes in place? And then what's the ROI and readiness that you can expect for this type of implementation? And then we would identify a number of use cases, help with a prioritization effort for those use cases by prioritizing them based on business value, organizational readiness, and ease of implementation, and then ultimately identifying what's the highest priority use case and building out a prototype and design and pilot around that particular use case, and also look at all the technical considerations and solution architecture for that particular use case. And then we would also include some recommendations and a roadmap of how to implement, how long it will take to implement, and an action plan to go and actually do that implementation. And then this is just a summary of some of the deliverables that come out of this type of engagement. Okay, as I had mentioned, some sort of prototype that visualizes the art of the possible with your particular use case that you can, use to get stakeholders in your organization to really understand the value and see it and actually interact with it. And then, the prioritization, the architecture, et cetera. And the other key aspect of this is done really quickly. So typically over a 3-week time period, give or take, depending on organization's objectives. But we work with you to complete all of the steps of this process really quickly, so you can achieve value and start to get ROI based on the investments that you're making. So with that said, I wanted to thank everyone for joining. We are going to open it up to a few questions before we do the raffle, and I'll check to see what questions, if any, that we do have. Feel free to type any questions you have in the chat box or in the questions. Just waiting to see if we get any questions coming in here. One of the questions we just received is how many different languages is Amelia able to support? And Jonathan, I don't know if that's something you can take. Jonathan, are you still there?
Yeah, we're here. The answer to that is that if you look at translations and you look at one level of language support, we can do translations, and I think that if we could identify 1,000 languages, we're not constrained. We can do that at a translation level. Now, depending on the need, the accuracy level, and et cetera, we can develop what we call language packs, which we've done in numerous countries to support even more in-depth ability. So the accuracy level rises as we do more and more of what we call the language pack, and understanding slang, understanding various methods of asking questions, could be dialects. I think you would all agree that speaking in New York and speaking in Atlanta, there are very different English understanding there in terms of how we pronounce words and what words we use. So all of that's possible. The interesting thing about Amelia, which is unique, is if you speak to her in French, she doesn't go through, oh, goodness, I guess you're speaking French. I said, no, she just responds back to you in French or Spanish or the language that you're using. And so that makes a big difference in a multi-language call center, where you're being able to support, again, on that first call access, you're being able to adjust to the language appropriate to the person speaking or raising the question. Very important value.
Great. Yeah, and that is a really good question. We do have another question here. What's the lag time between Amelia, processing something and then actually able to provide an answer? And I know some of that's going to depend on the exact use case and the systems that are hooked up, but Jonathan, if you want to take that one as well.
Yeah, when you look at the fully qualified task, let's think about it from a standpoint of I want to know if I qualify for a certain level of a mortgage. Typically today in a bank, that could be weeks. Obviously, Rocket Mortgage promotes that it does it a lot faster. The key there is to look at all of the individual contributors to the answer and to go through, I think you guys talk about end-to-end kind of assessment. So in order to get the kind of rapid response a client would want, we need to understand where are the bottlenecks in that process. So when we think about it, it won't be Amelia that will be slowing down the response or the time frame. It will really be the legacy processes that are in place, software used or regulations or compliance issues, or frankly, human intervention. One of the things that slows down our processes today is how many humans do you need to go through in order to get the approvals, the process, and the answer. And if there are numerous humans that are in that process, they have to have availability, we've got to get it answered, et cetera. So it really, because of your expertise, it's really an assessment of the overall process. And once we understand that, we can use what I call cognitive insertions into those various roadblocks that might occur. And we could have put Amelia's intelligence there to replace some of the human roadblocks or human delays, and therefore give you a much better end-to-end. So it really depends on complexity of the back office, right? The complexity of the business processes and the integrations required. But Amelia won't be the slowdown there. She'll be the front end, quickly reaching out to those processes. And the more we fix the back end, the more we integrate the processes in your digital transformation slides you showed, the more rapid she'll be able to respond.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jonathan. And I think that it's sort of to reiterate that, Amelia is not the place where the consumers would feel any sort of pain from a slowdown. It's more, have you identified the right process, and how have you assessed the various systems in place and identified the right area for Amelia to be applied to provide a better experience than what your customers are already used to. And so I think that's the importance of doing that. Strategic planning up front to identify the right use cases. Additionally, there's another question here around how detailed is the required documentation in order for Amelia to work. And the truth is, yeah, there's a number of documents and processes that need to be mapped out in order to truly get the value out of this. And you have to spend the time up front to assess those processes, find the pain points, identify the systems, bring in some historical training data to train the system. And all of that is required, but also that's part of that strategic planning process. So going through, there's a checklist involved where you can go through with the help of consultant expertise to identify what are the required documentation. How do I get that? How do I work through that process to make sure that we can implement this and be successful?
Brian, if I could add to that. Yeah, if I could add to that, I think you're right on the subject. Think about this. How long does it take you to train a human to be proficient at your call center or your inbound service desk or wherever it is that you're providing a human touch to a prospect or a customer or an employee? Look at what's required in order to get that human proficient, and I will guarantee you Amelia will become proficient more rapidly than a human, only because we're a little bit slower at learning. There's a lot of complexity to what we're being asked to do, and et cetera. And when you're able to add this, and I call it as a baseline, if I begin with a baseline understanding of how a claim gets processed, and we'll call that the generic base, I'm able to add a lot of intelligence on that quickly by taking best practices, known processes, and et cetera. And as I do that, I elevate her competency. In addition, she can shadow or listen and learn alongside of the agent who is handling that issue and learn that way as well. So when we think about the training aspects and getting a conversational agent proficient, the speed should be much better than what we would expect a normal human would be able to adapt and learn and be what we would call an A customer service agent.
That's great, Jonathan. And you actually, we got another question around, can you provide a little bit more details around the training process? And you sort of just answered that one. So that's great. There's one we're going to have time for one more question, and I think this is a great question. Is Amelia a rip and replace for current competitive RPA chat solutions? Or is it an add-on to augment? And I think that is a fantastic question. And it obviously depends a little bit on what the exact RPA solution is, but it's typically an augment. Amelia can act as an interface that can work through with your current RPA solutions and integrate with them to just provide a better experience. And Jonathan, I'll obviously pass it to you as well if you want to comment on that.
Well, Brian, you said it very well. I think that as we begin to understand, there's a front end and there's a back end. In the front end, you're taking that input, and Amelia is taking that and deciding what to do, what do I need, where's the information I need to get. In the back end, where RPA and other process software redos exist, we would interface with a UiPath, a Automation Anywhere, a Blue Prism, any of the prevalent players. We also can operate in any of the ecosystems that exist, an Amazon environment, a Microsoft Azure, a Luis environment, an IBM with their Watson product, Google, and Dialogflow CX, their newest release. Any of those environments, Amelia fits in again as this access point, and then she can operate within whatever ecosystem you've built. Now, with that said, that's really important because it doesn't make you throw out the work you've already done. To me, RPA or chatbots are gateway drugs to conversational intelligence. It's the beginning of understanding. It's where you start in many cases. But now you recognize there's more to this. Taking static information, static knowledge, and making it more interactive, elevating it, making it truly intelligent, is how you take the next step function to true superior customer experience.
Great, and thank you, Jonathan. And I'd like to, that's going to wrap up the Q&A, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining. Hopefully you found a lot of value in this, and without further delay, I will get into the raffle, which is a grilling kit, and the winner of that raffle is Jennifer Bretz. And so Jennifer, we will be in contact with you to provide more details related to that. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining. And Jonathan, I don't know if you have any parting words as well.
Well, the only thing I would say is I hope Jennifer is going to invite us to her barbecue. After having this success, it looks like she's going to be an expert at it.
Yep, that sounds great. All right, thanks again, everyone. Have a great day and a great week.